What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this time I'm going to be covering the weapon refines of Ursula, Gunter, Mage Eirika, and also Gaius. And the timestamps for these units are going to be in the description down below, right below that like button. So if you want to jump to a specific character, you could do that. So the first unit I'm going to be taking a look at is Ursula. One of the first Grandeur battle units. She was in a dire need of this weapon refine, and she finally got one. Unfortunately, it's not something which I envisioned, which is like a fire sweep tome, kind of mimicking bolting, which she had in FE7. She ends up having Blue Crow tome, which is still effective on cavalry units, and it has got a similar weapon refine to Matthew, basically powering her up depending on the amount of debuffs present on the enemy during the combat. So she pretty much becomes like a free-to-play blue Gunthra with a cavalry effective weapon, which is not the worst thing in the world, and it definitely helps with her viability a lot. Still, it's not really as good as a lot of the broadleaf fan users or the Spy's Dagger, in fact, because she does not have the innate debuffs which daggers have got, which is -7 defense and resistance, which does make a really big deal. And because of that, Ursula is going to be requiring way more support for her to function at her peak performance with this kind of weapon compared to the dagger units. And she can be useful in Ether Raid's defense. Cav line is a really popular archetype which a lot of people run, so there she can make use of the Panic Manner, Shrine Structure debuffs, and also all of the Chilled skills to basically do a lot of damage. But even there, she is not going to be able to escape Reinhardt, who is going to be giving her the competition. Reinhardt is still a really good nuke and is really common in Cav line, so both of them are blue mage cavalry, so it depends on the player. I've never really run a cav line myself, but still I can tell that Reinhardt is going to be more consistent than someone like Ursula, because her raw damage output isn't really going to be of comparison to him. Ursula just in general, even outside of Ether Raids, needs quite a bit of support to function with her weapon. Reinhardt on the other hand doesn't really need anything like that. He just needs Death Blow and a 2-turn cooldown special to do the job. And he's way easily mergeable than Ursula, does not require any kind of heroic grails, so it seems like Ursula is still gonna be in the shadow of Reinhardt, but she's much better. So you could always pair her up with chill or sabotage users like a Versa, Temari plus dagger users, Brave Micaiah, and now even Iago, I guess. And all of those units are gonna be a really good teammate with her, you know, being able to provide the debuffs for her so that she can do more damage. And you can also use her with Ruse or Feint skill users. And now let us take a look at some of the builds. So the first one is the absolute cheap build with Fury, Desperation, and Brazen Attack Speed. You could also run double Death Blow actually, it doesn't really matter. So this kind of budget build is to be ran on like a Horse Emblem team where you do have some chill skills on them, and they can provide that kind of support to Ursula. So this is a build which most people can make, and she can add a bit of value, but once again, you know, Reinhardt is still there as an easily mergeable unit. And the next build is for cav line. As I said, for Ether Raids, you do want to use some kind of build like this. She can work well on cav lines, and many cav lines do like to run Panic Staff on their healers. So where the area is not covered by the Panic Manner, you could use Panic Staff, and she can make use of those debuffs. And she can also synergize with the debuffs if you're going to be using Yune as a mythic hero. Usually cav line is a bit more common in Astro season, but still I have been facing some cav lines in the light season as well, so just wanted to point that out. The next build is a general purpose build. If you do have a plus in Ursula, this is the build you want to go with. Just go all out offensive on her and pair her up with a lot of support units who can increase her damage output with the debuffs. She herself can run Rest Smoke from Bronya, so you could get additional 14 damage from that. So this is just a max investment build. And the final build is for Ether Raid's offense, because, you know, Spy's Dagger Broadleaf Fan is used a lot for Vantage Sweeping, so she is needing some additional support. The next unit we have is Mage Eirika. So everyone has got access to one Mage Eirika from Heroes Path, so that is pretty good. But the thing is that this weapon refine is really disappointing to me personally, because of the fact that it is just too reliant on the foe being at 100% HP, and that can be detrimental at times. Say if you're facing a foe, maybe in like an Abyssal map or anywhere else like Arena Assault, where the foe has been damaged by some kind of passive damage, or just, you know, you fail to finish them off, then her weapon just becomes dead. It's not going to be doing anything, it's just giving you +3 resistance, and that is it. So that is why it's kind of underwhelming in my opinion. And also has anti-synergy with a lot of things like Savage Blow, which is a really common passive damage skill, Bolt Tower, Duma, and just any kind of passive damage in general. So if you're using Eirika, just do not use those kinds of things, but those kinds of passive damage in general does help other units who are not named Eirika. With her weapon refine, she can neutralize all of the penalties like debuffs on herself if the foe is at full HP, provided that condition. So that is actually a really powerful effect because debuffs are super common and being able to neutralize them is really good. The only thing is that this is conditional effect. It is not as easy to trigger as Bronia's weapon. So once again, that is a big bummer. And against a full HP enemy, she will effectively get +8 attack and speed and +4 defense and resistance during combat. And those in-combat debuffs can combo up with a lull skill in slot B. So let us take a look at some of her builds. The first one is a free-to-build one. There's really not much you have to do. Once again, Res Smoke is going to be helping you a lot. Do not run Savage Blow here. You could run any kind of other Hone Cavalry or Fortify Cavalry kind of skill. So it's flexible. She could help you in Arena Assault. At least that's how I use her on my accounts. And the other build is for the dedicated hardcore Eirika fans. It's not easy to plus and merge her because she's still 5-star exclusive. But if you do have her with this, then you could run something like this. This is just a showcase. What you could do, have a lull speed resistance in slot B. Any kind of lull skill is going to be really good for her. And just have Swiss Barrow 3 and Death Blow just to maximize on her 1-round KO potential. So overall, Eirika's weapon refine kind of is disappointing because of how conditional it is. It is just too reliant on foe being at full HP. If she had any kind of other effect which was not reliant on the foe being at full HP, this would definitely be much better. And I know many people are going to be asking me, I'm actually going to be using this weapon refine for really tough abyssal maps. Usually I just stay away from using any kind of weapon refines in my free-to-play guides, but some of the abyssal maps are pretty tough, so there a Gleipnir refine could help. So if you just want to future-proof yourself whenever you have extra 200 divine dues, you could just weapon refiner. The next unit we have is Gunter, and his weapon refine is about what I expected out of him because it's really hard to make an old unit like him be really good in combat. And by old, I don't mean by his age, I mean like a Gen 1 unit who has got the veteran BST penalty. So a support weapon refine is absolutely perfect for a unit like this because power creep may come and go, but support roles like this will always have some kind of niche or value at the very least. We see that in Male Corrin and other support units, and of course there are way better support units than Gunter, I'm not denying that, but still having that kind of support role is always going to be having at least a bit of value. So his weapon refine is really good. He has got a double chill skill going on, which gives -5 attack and debuff penalty on a foe who has got the lowest speed out of the enemy's team. And those kinds of units are usually going to be really slow, tanky, and powerful units, so -5 attack and defense debuff is perfect on them. Keep in mind there's also an HP condition which you have to maintain, which is above 50% HP. His weapon refine gives you even more support by giving you joint drive attack and joint drive defense to infantry and cavalry units. And that is just absolutely fantastic because these are in combat buffs and those are always going to be useful, and these are not really affected by something like panic. And he can also improve his own combat, but the thing is that it is only going to be active for infantry and cavalry allies, and cavalry units as it is don't really make the best tanks because of their BST restriction, and they do not have access to a lot of really good defensive skills which infantry units have. And Gunter, as I said, does face competition from many support units who are way better, and one of the things which kind of makes him not as good as a support unit is that he's not able to soak a lot of chills. What I mean by that is that usually with a really powerful tanky unit, you want to run a support unit like Male Corrin or Brave Lucina who can soak some chills so that your main unit does not get affected. Gunter, in that case, can only really soak chills on the defensive side, mainly for his defense because that is the high stat. So because of his limited stat spread, he cannot really function as good as Male Corrin when it comes to soaking chills. Of course, Male Corrin is on another level, but still, that does kind of hinder his performance as a support unit, at least in my eyes. And the good thing is that he doesn't really compete with Frederick's role for a free-to-play Axe Cavalier. He's doing his own thing. Meanwhile, Frederick is smashing armors in Arena Assault, so I always like that kind of thing. Now let's take a look at some of his builds. Keep in mind, all of his support options are really versatile and really depends on your team and how you want to run like the support skills. So none of these like builds are hard and fast, it's all flexible. The first build is a cheap build with triple chill skills. So the chill in his weapon is going to be catching slow tanks, chill speed is going to be catching fast offensive units, and chill attack is going to be catching high attack units who are probably not fitting those other criteria where they do not have as much speed as the fastest units and they're not really as slow as tanks. So this could be run, and Fortress Defense is just to, give him more defense so that he can soak some shields here and there and just survive. It's a cheap skill nonetheless, and Slot C is flexible. His other build is using Ruse skill. So Ruse skills are really good and pair up well with his Weapon Refine, and they can also inflict the guard status, so that could be really useful for your main unit. And this next build is for Ether Raids. So this is a max investment Gunter. Because of his limited BST, you will have to invest a bit heavily into him if you want him to soak chills. If you don't really want him to soak chills, then it's all good. You could just have him at +1 merge just for his support effect. But if you do want to do that, then something like Fortress Defense is going to be helping you increase his defenses. And if you use him in Light Season with Ears, he can just soak in some of the Shrine debuffs. But he's not going to be able to soak in any other debuffs than Chill Defense or even Chill Attack, unless you're using a unit who has got low attack than him. So it really depends on you how you want to fine-tune your Gunter to soak chills, depending on which main unit you're using with him. The final build is for the people who also want to use him as a unit and not just a support unit. His Weapon Refine does give him +4 attack and defense during combat if he's within 2 spaces of infantry or cavalry allies. So you could make use of that by having Sturdy Stance 3 and just having a tanky build in general. And Giant Drive Attack is a new skill which is present on this Revelations banner as of making this video. So if you really want to invest heavily into Gunter, then Giant Drive Attack is actually a really good skill which synergizes well with his weapon. So he's able to provide himself with +8 attack, which is really nice. The final unit we have in this batch is Gaius. So Gaius has been really underwhelming for the longest time. We really needed this Weapon Refine, and this Weapon Refine doesn't really make him too good, but it definitely makes him a bit more viable. And he can get true damage from his weapon, which helps him a bit more, being viable. And getting true damage based on his speed is only 10%, which is not really enough to really offset his lackluster base attack of 29. And yes, his primary effect in his weapon does give him true damage, which scales off on his speed. I personally did test it out. It seems like it has got a bit of mistranslation, so he can actually get true damage from his primary effect and also his Weapon Refine. But that's where the problem arises. Half of his true damage is player phase, and the other half is conditional based on foe's full HP, so it has really anti-synergy with any kind of passive damage. So basically, his primary effect is going to be giving him +4 speed, and it is going to be giving you true damage based on 10% of his total speed during the combat. So he can easily reach 40 speed, so he's at least going to be getting 4 true damage from that. And if he invests heavily into him, then he can get as much as 5 or 6 true damage. And the Weapon Refine is basically like the Vassal's Blade effect, but it is conditional. Once again, having foe at full HP is needed for this to trigger and give him +7 true damage. Its wording is just so confusing for a lot of people. So basically, at start of combat, if the foe is at full HP, you deal +7 true damage, and if you're going to be using an AoE special, then you get the extra true damage. But AoE special means that you're going to be reducing the HP of the unit. So if you do double them with Gaius, then you're not going to be getting the +7 true damage. So that kind of sucks. And the fact that AoE damage have the Aryan effect, which means that he could hurt some other enemies near him, and once again that will have the anti-synergy with this skill once you initiate combat against them. So yeah, AoE special is not really the most optimal but can work out. So this Weapon Refine just makes him a bit better in the player phase. Nothing really too groundbreaking, and there are way better free-to-play dagger units we have in the normal pool and also in Grails like Matthew, Kronia, Kagero, Saizo, Soth, and just so many of the units who can just outperform him when it comes to combat and in the damage output. Now, it is good that he's getting true damage from his weapon, but in the overall picture, his damage output is going to be suffering because of his lackluster attack. So that cannot be ignored. Just because he's getting true damage doesn't really mean that he's busted unit. And as I said, he's getting conditional true damage. You need to meet the conditions first if you want to get this. So now let's go over some of his builds. I would not really recommend you to build Gaius if you're just going to be giving him +1 or +2 merge. There are just way better free-to-play dagger units who would work out better in that kind of merge level. For Gaius, you really have to invest heavily into him to get results out of him, in my opinion. These builds are going to be for +10 Gaius. You could still get an idea. If you do want, you could try to run this on a low merge Gaius and see how it performs for you and form your own opinion based on the results you get. So this first build has got cheap skills like Life and Death 3 from Soth, Desperation, Speed Smoke, and Flashing Blade. So Flashing Blade is really nice for him because he's super fast, and depending on how your Gaius is, how invested your Gaius is. It depends if you want to go with plus attack IV or plus speed IV. In this case, Gaius is already hitting like 50 speed with his dagger, so he doesn't need to have plus speed IV. He'd rather take extra attack from plus attack IV. So yeah, it really depends on you and how invested your Gaius is. And then we have got the second build, which is really expensive with Flashing Blade 4. So he's really good candidate to run Flashing Blade 4, and if you want some true damage action, then this is the build you have to go for. And the next build is for Aether Raid's defense. Now, dagger units are really popular to be used in Aether Raid's defense because of their innate debuffs and the fact that they've got access to so many daggers, and usually they do have a lot of variety based on what you want to run on your defense team. So if you want to run a unit like Gaius who has got high HP, who can infantry pulse other low HP units, then you could run him. But the thing is that it's going to be really hard for you to infantry pulse him and get his special ready. But in my opinion, for this kind of thing, like Soth is way better. I personally would not run something like this on my defense team. I would just invest into Soth. And in my opinion, Candy Dagger isn't even that good of a dagger for like Aether Raid's defense. Kagero's Dart is also a really good option, and she has way more attack than Gaius. Cleaner Plus, Cloud Mayogi, which you can get from Divine Codes, and all of those weapons are still really good and give you good utility. And the final build is with an AoE special. So as I explained, AoE specials are not really the most optimal, but still if you want to get the mileage out of a shoot weapon with that kind of way, then you could run this kind of build, run Life and Death 4, and just have Flashing Blade so that you can have an infinite AoE special loop. New units nowadays have just really easy effects to trigger, but not the case for these old units that we have who might be fan favorites. But still, nonetheless, this does make units way better than what they were before. So it's really good for the dedicated fans of these units. In my opinion, the badge of this weapon refine is kind of average. None of these units are going to be that much influential with their weapon refines, I think, and they just make these units a bit more viable. And in my opinion, Ursula and Gunter's weapon refine are some of the better ones. And with Gunter, I guess you could build a one-off copy if you do want to get some stats in something like Arena Assault, or just use him as a support unit. So you could always try that. So that is just going to be my review of these weapon refines that we have got. If you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. It's going to be helping me tremendously with YouTube's algorithm. And when you subscribe, please be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can always get the updates to my videos whenever I upload, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Ursula getting bolting with a 5-star perfect. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.